We're here. We're finally here. We have roughed it through July. We have roughed it through June. We had fun at the draft. We had fun during free agency, but we are here. We are officially in what you could kind of call football season. Camp is here. The Hall of Fame game is not far away. We're not too far off from seeing NFL football on a field. I am super excited. I can smell the season, and you know what? It smells pretty good. I'm excited. You're excited. But there is one question that does need to be answered before we really get into all this camp talk, and that's really, what is it that we need to know about the Cleveland Browns? If you're somebody who's been tuning out, if you're somebody who's been here and there with some information, or if you're somebody who just wants to make sure, or if you're somebody who just wants to make sure you have every little piece of information before you enjoy this training camp, this is what this video is for. This is what you need to know about Browns camp. But before I get into that, I want to make sure I give a shout out to the patreon.com dog check tier members. I'm going to start with Michael Matique, Nick Merrick, Mike Lapa, Wes and Megan, Tyler Chiz, D.A. Jade, Easley Bash, Joe Hart, Gabriel Wilson, Fred Pratt III, David Valtiar, Relentless Buck, Chunt, Rex Kaufman, Kevin Johnson, DJ Marino V, Edward Carpenter, Matt H, Sign Sheets, Gemini, Liam Freeman, Fight Dirty 74, Yo, Matt Lloyd, Paul Wilcox, Hundo Magnifico, Kyle Stuffer, Lukey from Munich, Deveroff, J Guy 101, Musty Taco, Joe Bobby, Brad Cabo, Dylan W, James McGinley, Arenda Hall, Chad Gimme, David Maldonado, Dylan Hell, Josh Bendorch, Jaleel Salim Jr., Mark M, TJ Showman, Stuart Moore, Cleveland BCI, Robert Jermaine Jr., Dave Mike May, Andrew Hirsch, Curtis Byer, Batman, Bharat Kumar, John Albert, Beerman069, Masayua Buzzer, Roland James, Nemo, Mac House, Reeve Hertz, Philip Wilcox, Marie Vivert, Sean Barron, Goggles Pisano, Corporal Nick Lopez, Dom Gazzulo, Nick Nasty, Ian Whitaker, Colin 216 Christian, Dave Strong, Michael Stone, Billy Moose Gentry, Austin Z, Mark Burnett II, Andre Griffin, Otis Wolf, Dog Pound, Kai Greg Ehlers, Austin Bowling, Lydia Mahawk, Jesus Serrano, Chris Foams, the Picktown Browns backers, Max Neelakenko, Mark Khan, Max Al Dojo, and Water Bear Marketing. Again, guys, thank you so much for the support. It's been a long off season. We're finally getting closer and closer to the regular season, and I hope you guys enjoy what's in store today. But let's talk about what we need to know about Browns camp. All right, so there's a few things I want to get here. Some things are going to be channel announcements. The other things are going to be news about the Browns. So what do we need to know? The main thing, right, if you've been tuned out for a while, or even if you've been tuned in, is the status of Odell. He was limited during mini camps. The same thing with Greedy Williams, the same thing with Grant Delpit, but they did put on helmets and shells at some point during minicamp, and it looks like that trajectory that we talked about that was going up in minicamp has continued to go up for at least Odell Beckham, who is reported to be full go and cleared to go to camp. Now, what does this mean? What's his status going to be? I don't think you're going to see him obviously not getting a ton of physical contact during training camp. He'll get in some, but again, he's a wide receiver. He really doesn't need to get into a lot of physical contact. He doesn't play one of those positions that are kind of predicated on that. So he would be fine if he does non-contact all throughout camp. I honestly don't think there would be that much of a problem with it. And also, I wouldn't expect Odell to play any preseason games. So that's his status. He looks good. Everybody who has seen this man in person in the offseason is gushing about him. I'm excited to see what he's going to look like on the field. And, you know, we're days away from that happening. The next thing to talk about that's Browns news is the JOK situation. Now, none of the other players on the team, now that all the veterans have reported, have tested positive for COVID, but COVID's still out there. It's still going to be something that's going to play a factor in this season, just a little bit or maybe a lot, depending on how things go. But JOK, he tested positive for COVID-19. Now, here's the tricky part, right? There are two different protocols. There's a protocol for vaccinated players, and there's a protocol for unvaccinated players. If you are vaccinated, all you have to do is get 2 positive tests in a row, and then you're out of the COVID-19 protocol. If you are unvaccinated as a player, you will be in last year's COVID protocol, which was 10 days. You have to get a certain amount of negative tests. Essentially, if you're unvaccinated, the protocols have not changed even a little bit. And that's how you would have to look at it. But if you are vaccinated, the protocols are a lot more lenient. The testing is a lot more lenient. And obviously, you can get out of the protocol much faster if that is the case. So that is a competitive advantage, right? If a player is vaccinated and they do get this thing that is still out there, the numbers are still rising with all the new variants and everything. That player can get on the field much faster and does not have to do the 10-day wait that a unvaccinated player will have to. That's going to be something that's going to come up for a lot of teams this year. I don't expect the NFL to be 100% fully vaccinated by the end of the season. There's going to be somebody who's going to miss 10 games that might be critical. So keep an eye on that. That's going to become a factor in a storyline at some point. Right now with JOK, we don't know his vaccination status, so we don't know which protocol he's in. And that's going to be an interesting thing all throughout the year because we're just not going to know what protocol players are in when they test positive. It could be anywhere from 2 days to, 10 days if somebody pops up on that list. So that's what the protocols are going to be this season. And with JOK, it's an interesting situation, right? If he only has to miss 2 or 3 days and he can get back, he can essentially miss no days of practice if he is vaccinated. If he is not, he's going to miss 10 days. And that's going to be a healthy chunk of install, and that he could be at risk of falling behind a little bit because 10 days in training camp, you have to keep in mind, you only get like 14 padded practices and like 22 practices total. So missing 10 days is a big deal when it comes to training camp. So if he has to do that, that will be a big deal, and that might affect his ability to get on the field and get the type of snaps that we would want out of JOK early. So that's something to watch. Now let's talk about some channel announcements and the preseason schedule because I have an interesting announcement. I am going to be testing out a new live stream schedule. If you watched last year, especially at the tail end of the season, I started doing more live watch-alongs during games last year, and I did a live post-game show for most games. The post-game show is obviously returning. Those were always fun, but this year, I'm going to try out, especially during the preseason, to make sure this makes sense, but I anticipate this is going to carry on in the regular season. I anticipate on doing live watch-alongs for all 17 regular season games this year. So if that's exciting to you, but you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed, make sure you're notified, because those live streams, those opportunities to watch the game and react with me and chat with me while I'm watching the game will be there. And it starts in the preseason. I'm going to be testing this out. So August 14th at Jacksonville will be the Browns' first preseason game. I will be live streaming and live reacting to that, also with a post-game show. And then on Sunday, August 22nd, New York at home for Cleveland. I'll again be live watching that game and doing a live post-game show about 30 minutes after the game ends, or if the fourth quarter is not horribly interesting, I might just start the post-game show during that. But there will be live streams for those 2 preseason games. And also, if you're a Browns fan, you want to watch this. If you live in Cleveland, it's going to be on News 5. If you don't live in Cleveland, this is new. The games will be nationally televised and carried live on NFL Network. So if you're somebody who can get your hands on a YouTube TV subscription, that has NFL Network included in it. So that's a way to watch the Browns preseason games if you're out of market. I know it's really difficult to do that. Also, if you're international, I think you can do that. I think you can do Game Pass live, though, and watch the preseason games live like that if you are international. But again, more ways to watch the Browns. The Browns are being carried on national TV. All 3 preseason games will be national. Even the last one against Atlanta will be on NBC. So all the games will be national. This is pretty cool stuff. But that's all this video is. It's just a real quick kind of primer before the season. The one thing I really wanted to get through to you guys is the live streams will be back in tow and in full force this year. Live watch-alongs, live post-game shows for the regular season games. And obviously, if they make the playoffs, I'll be doing the same exact thing there. And I'm hoping to evolve the format and make it even better than it was last year. So if you enjoyed some of those live streams, if you enjoyed the draft live watch-along, you'll enjoy the content that I'm putting out this year on top of my regularly pre-recorded stuff that I usually do here. So a ton of content coming. Make sure you're subscribed. make sure you're notified and make sure you make it to those live streams because they will be a ton of fun. But that's it for this video, guys. Have a great day and have a good night.